years ago, when we came to Los Angeles, I really believed that the greatness of the Raiders would be in its future.
We back. Y'all already know what time it is, man.
Oh, you didn't know?
50-50.
Welcome to the 50-50 Show with PharoahNFL and the Severe Raider, the realest show for Raider Nation.
The perpetuation of the greatness of the Raiders to take a professional football team and give it a distinct characteristic that's different from all others.
Make sure to clock in, like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell.
Y'all already know what time it is, man. It's the 50-50 Show with yours truly, PharoahNFL, and obviously the Severe Raider. Make sure to clock in, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Man, hey, man, we got a lot to talk about. Well, kind of, sort of. You know what I mean? The Raiders haven't been super aggressive in free agency, but you know, we'll have something to talk about because I think it's a good sign. Let's just say that before we even get into that conversation. Well, I'll say it's a good sign because I got to hear Severe's thoughts, man. Because I know Severe be going in, so we gotta wait, man. We gotta wait for Severe to break it down. But we got people pulling up left and right, man. A night crew in the building, man. We got PNW Mark Raiders in the building. Let me make this little adjustment, man. We got to let people know. He wants to remind everybody, hi, Raiders, make sure to clock in and subscribe, man, for sure, man. We're going live on both our channels, man, so make sure to go check out both if you haven't already, man. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, man. Raider Ryan in the building, man. Appreciate you coming through. We got Huey P in the building, man. He just simply, man, just shouts out. You know, we gotta. Hey, man. Man, the Raiders offseason is the best time of the year. You know, hey, ain't nothing to really be mad about during the offseason. Usually. But we feeling good today, man. I think it's gonna be a great show. And there's some things that we want to talk about today, man. We'll get into that in a little bit, man. We got Sacktown Raider in the building, man. Raider Mike in the building, man. Appreciate you pulling up, man. Oh, James Furple, as usual, man. You know what he always.
Yeah, that's the special.
That's his signature, man. This is his signature. Man, appreciate you coming through, James. Billy Davis, my guy, man. Appreciate you coming through. Robert in the building. Man, we got everybody pulling up today. Can coming through. Salute, brothers, Raider Nation for life, man. Hey, man, appreciate you coming through, my guy. Oh, what happened? Hey, what we doing here, man? Is it Mint Beats or the Wanderer? What we doing here, man? I thought we was gonna stick with the Mint Beats, but my guy's in the building, man. Appreciate you coming through. Sure. Cam in the building, pulling up, man. Zay too true, man. We back for sure, man. Hey, off-season special. Oh man, Sean is calling it already. He says playoffs.
Okay.
I'm not
hey, confidence. I like it. I like the confidence, man. Hey, put it on paper. Put it on wax.
But you know what? Hey, look, that confidence. It's always good, man. Like I said, off season gets us always excited about what could be. I mean, you know, we have a new quarterback. That quarterback position is improved.
Yeah.
Dixon side. Dixon, man, in the building.
Hey, yo. First
my
of
God. Oh man, my God, man. Hell, I know, man. But look, it's a great time of the year, man. It's a lot to talk about, especially with the off season underway, free agency, and free agency it's not just what players are being signed. We also can kind of like foreshadow what's going to happen in the draft. Like if we're not getting this position that we thought I was surprised a little bit. Were you surprised? Let's just get it going, man. Let's not waste any time. Obviously, free agency is underway. It's day 2. Day 1, look, players are getting paid left and right. And going into it was a weak free agency class. And I think that being the case kind of pushed players to get paid more than what you would want. And it so happened that some of those players were Raider players, from the Morig, who good player, had a good year on a contract year, healthy, going into free agency, probably top safety on the board, and he got paid like it. He ended up going. You got Spillane. I didn't see Spillane. I thought Spillane was gonna stay. I thought they were gonna figure out a way to bring him back, but you know what? At $12 million a year, you know what I mean? 11 to 12 million. I don't know, man. Like you said it the other day. I seen you tweet it out. Yeah, you were like, if you can't cover,
yeah, man.
I don't know if I want to pay that much money. If you gotta at least cover. And even though I will say that Spillane did make plays in the passing game,
he did.
I felt like he can't get exposed.
Exactly.
In one-on-one situations. But that's just me. And then, I mean, what were your thoughts, man? Were you surprised that the Raiders lost all these players? I mean, we did re-sign like Kuntz, which is huge.
Yeah. I was surprised that we lost the players, but I wasn't surprised when you see the dollar amounts they were going for. So I was like, I didn't expect these guys to command this kind of money, so I thought we'd be able to keep them in-house. But the fact that, teams were giving out these contracts, it made it, difficult, obviously impossible for the Raiders to bring those guys back. So at the end of the day, you got to be smart. You got to be fiscally responsible. You got to adhere to whatever you feel is the value of the player, right? If you feel a guy is worth X amount of dollars and you're willing to pay X amount of dollars, like just because team B is willing to pay Y amount of dollars, that doesn't mean you should pay Y amount of dollars, right? You set the value, and if you feel the guy is replaceable, then, at the end of the day, you got to let that guy walk. For the most part, championships aren't won or lost in free agency. It's generally the teams that make those value signings, those under the radar type signings, are the teams that fare the best, right? Perfect example, Zach Bond last year with the Eagles, right? Under the radar signing, nobody was, oh my God, you see the Eagles got Zach Bond, they Super Bowl bound now. Like, no, it was a cool signing. Shore up their linebacker core is what people assumed. Zach Bond turned out, he was one of the best defensive players in the league last year, right? So, you can strike gold. You can strike oil, you can strike gold, however you want to say it. If you're smart, you target the guys that you feel fit your scheme, fit your system, and have a history of good play. And then you get your coaches around them, and you can kind of develop those guys, and boom, like you get a guy like that, right? Like Robert Spillane is a perfect example. Nobody was like, I was one of the few people saying, yo, man, this is a good signing. Like, I like this dude. And everybody right next is like, oh, what is Robert Spillane going to do, right? Oh, this is Nick Kwiatkowski all over again, right? That's what people
right. Man, Nick Kwiatkowski, you brought that back.
Yeah, so but I was telling people like, bro, he's this is dude, like, he played for one of the best defensive coaches in the league. Brian Flores was his linebacker coach in Pittsburgh. He was on the field all 3 downs. Like, obviously this dude like can play if he's playing for those guys. So I just feel that there's value to be had on those lower tiers free agencies, as long as you approach it intelligently.
Well, if you guys been tuning in to the 50-50 show, one of our notable quotables was it was a soundbite by not Telesco, but Spytek, and he was getting interviewed at the combine, and one of the things that he mentioned was that when he attacks, he's cheap by nature. He doesn't like to spend a lot, just by nature, in his personal life and professionally. This word for word, bar for bar, whatever you want to call it. He literally said this. And one of the things that he did mention is that he wanted to focus more on targeted signings. And I mean, look, think about it. A lot of that money kind of went to Max Crosby. They're going to pay, they just made a trade for Geno Smith, who's going to get a new deal. Yeah. So that's right there. Like, if you want to talk about Raiders being aggressive, they went ahead and got their QB, and they attacked the most. I like it. Like, this whole offseason, like, it's kind of been pretty smart. Yeah. I know we've been tough on the Pete Carroll hire, but I get the logic behind hiring Pete Carroll. I get it. I get what they're trying to do. I just think that, like, there's a little bit of frustration there of like, okay, we just got rid of a coach after 1 year and then we hired an old coach. But I get the experience. I get that Pete Carroll is going to be there to right the ship. But now fast forward, we go into free agency, and they're not overspending. A lot of the players, like I mentioned earlier, a lot of the players got overpaid. The Patriots went crazy. Like, they were like handing out contracts left and right. I think we talked about earlier. You said the Panthers. But yeah, man, going back to Spytek, he targeted signings, and even another quote by Spytek. I think this might have been another notable quotable where he mentioned how he valued pass rushers. You can't, it's hard to find pass rushers. And think about who we just re-signed. We just re-signed Kuntz. I understand, like, Spytek doesn't know who Kuntz is. Like, I mean, he wasn't in the building. He didn't draft him, but he understood, talking to a guy like Patrick Graham and people in the building, I'm sure. And he did his due diligence, and he's like, no, we got to bring back a guy like Kuntz. That's a good, it's a low risk, high reward move for the Raiders to bring him back on a prove-it deal. And it made sense to bring him back. And then think about who else we brought up. Adam Butler, a guy that's been a consistent role player on that D-line. Look, it's all these moves are pretty smart. They're not throwing money at positions where they feel like, you know what, we could replace this position. We could find an inside linebacker in the draft, or maybe even later in free agency. I mean, at this point, it's getting tough. We'll take a look at some of the players that's available, but I just felt like Spytek and the Raiders right now, they're being pretty smart about how they're gonna, be pretty much sign players and make moves so far. I just feel like the Raiders right now, they're not. I don't want to. Last week I'm buying in, and right now I'm like, you know what? I'm buying in, man. Hey,
you already got your wallet. You already got your wallet out. You already done tapped the card.
I'm looking at the schedule. Bro. I'm like, you know what, man? I'm like, hey, the Raiders are. I like how they're handling, and what's going to be interesting too is, let's talk about the Geno Smith trade. Yeah. Let's actually start there. I know we talked a little about free agency and because that's what's happening now. But like, we didn't get a chance to talk about Geno Smith. He was traded over the weekend, or on Friday, I should say. And I'm glad we man, it's been a crazy 4 or 5 days, man. But yeah, Geno Smith gets traded from Seattle. And I think I felt like we mentioned that before, but John Snyder did come out in the combine and say, no, Geno is gonna stay. Like, we're working to sign him long term and yada yada yada.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened at the 11th hour.
Yeah.
The Seahawks gave him an extension for like $45 million a year. I wonder what the Raiders deal is going to be. If it's $45 million a year or just a little bit more, then maybe it was just a sign of Geno Smith saying, like, you know what, I don't want to be here. I want to be under a coach that I trust, and that's Pete Carroll, who he kind of like talks about, kind of revitalized his career, kind of gave him back his confidence. But I like it, man. I think it gives Raiders more options, more flexibility. I mean, what are your thoughts, man? Hold on, let me get together.
So at first, I was kind of mixed about it, just because, I was hesitant to give up. Not even hesitant. I didn't want to give up this kind of draft compensation for Matthew Stafford, right? So, who I think, is probably a better player than Geno.
Right.
Well, is a better player than Geno, but he's older. He has been banged up recently. So initially, I was like, man, that's kind of a lot, man, for Geno, and he wants a lot of money too. I was kind of on the fence, but the more I see people talk about Geno and kind of what he was dealing with in Seattle, and like how he basically was like carrying that team on his back. Despite like what the numbers say, like like he was like people who watch film, who know the game, say Geno Smith is better than what these numbers are, like and if you looked at some of the advanced analytics, some of the advanced analytics say he's a top 10 quarterback in the league. There's some stats where they say he's a top 5 quarterback in the league. I wouldn't go that far, but that's what some of the stats say. So the more I started seeing it, the more I started to warm up to it. And and I never thought Geno Smith was an option, as you said. John Snyder said that they were working on keeping Geno Smith, assigning him to an extension. Mike McDonald said he wanted to keep Geno Smith. He said he thought he can win a Super Bowl with Geno Smith. But what happened was that what Geno Smith thinks his value is not what Seattle thinks his value is, or at least John Snyder thinks his value is. So, they offered him a similar deal to what they gave Sam Darnold. And Geno Smith looked at it. It was like you missing about $10-15 million. And at that point, they just couldn't come to an arrangement. And I believe they reached out to Pete Carroll, if I remember correctly, but they made that connection, and like the rest is history. So it's a massive upgrade over what we had last year. That I will say, that a massive upgrade over what we had.
Huge upgrade. Now I know a lot of Raider fans. There's gonna be Raider fans like, oh, this is gonna be the second coming of Rich Gannon. That journeyman quarterback. By the time Rich Gannon got to the Raiders, he was like in his 30s. And then, the rest is history. I mean, the film community loves Geno Smith. They love what his talent. He has a good arm. We just need to protect him. I'm not really. I like Geno, and if he is the franchise QB, great. If he's not, I'm not really mad at it, because now this kind of buys the Raiders time. Yeah. I kind of mentioned that it kind of gives the Raiders flexibility to find their future QB, whether they get it in this draft or the next. They got a QB in place that can hold down the fort, and also they can also get a more developmental QB in this draft and be patient.
Yeah.
And I mean, we'll get into one of our notable quotables, why we think that might be true based off certain comments made by the people in the building. Rhymes with Grady.
Exactly. But another thing that someone pointed out, I can't remember who pointed it out, but they were like, you look at Geno Smith, right? I think he's 34, going to be 35. But They were like, essentially, he's the youngest 35-year-old quarterback in the league because he spent so many years as a backup not really playing. So he wasn't taking that physical punishment. So it's still, they were saying essentially it's still a lot of tread that was going to be left on his tires. And they're like, generally the last thing to go is your arm strength, right? Like you can retain, especially if you have a strong arm, you can retain a lot of your arm strength until later on as a quarterback. So like they could see Geno playing like another eight or so years just because he doesn't have a lot of wear and tear on his body.
Man, and that's a good problem to have. I mean, if you end up drafting a QB, developing them, and then you have a good QB room, that's a good problem. But I think the Raiders, this shouldn't stop the Raiders from drafting a QB. I don't think it should stop them from drafting a QB. What it does is that they don't have to force a pick. They don't have to do something weird to trade up, and then they got so many holes. Like, look, think about it. Like, look how they're attacking free agency. Linebacker is going to be a position that they're going to have to address. Safety, I would say might be a position because there's some good safeties in this draft where they can possibly take early. I mean, corner, we haven't addressed that position. I mean, nickel corner. I mean, there's some guys available. How do you feel about Hilton? I know he was recently cut by Mike Hilton. You think he probably fit this defense with Pete Carroll?
Yeah, I mean, I know Pete Carroll generally likes bigger corners, but are we running Pete Carroll's defense or are we running Patrick Graham's defense? I'm sure Pete Carroll will have some influence over it, but Patrick Graham, he doesn't really discriminate over the height of a corner, as evidence. We had Darnay Holmes here last year. So to him, he can run it with that. And at one point, Mike Hilton was considered, if not the best nickel in the league, one of the best nickels in the league when he was with the Bengals. So I don't know how well he played last year. So I'd have to look into that. But if we can get him, bring him in, let him compete, I wouldn't mind that at all.
Yeah, and it's right now at this point I could tell the Raiders right now it's all about value signings. They're not gonna break the bank. That we haven't even heard the contract details of Geno Smith. That nothing has been announced. So technically, he hasn't been extended. There's no new contract or anything like that. I think he's on his last year of his deal, and the Raiders kind of took over that contract. But I'm sure we're gonna hear something, hopefully soon as far as what that deal is gonna look like, man. But man, appreciate everybody coming through. Myra, man, pulling up, man. She got everybody, man. We got the area in the building. Appreciate you coming through. We got Moon over Miami coming through. Man, we got everybody pulling up. Shield 60 in the building. 808 Raider in the building. He says, "Who does your beats for the intros, man? I got you, man. Just hit me up on IG, man. I'll let you know who the producer of the show is." The last song reminds me of Hieroglyphics. I think you're talking about Severe's intro. That's
Ghostface Killer.
Yeah, Ghostface Killer. Yeah, that's a Ghostface Killer.
Yeah. If you're looking at that beat, that's my boy that made that. Yeah, holla at me. If you're talking about mine, yeah, holla at me. My boy made that beat.
Yeah, man. Appreciate everybody coming through. Anthony in the building. What's going on? And we got people pulling up left and right. Let's see here. We got Arnie Garza in the building. Says, "What's your grade on day one free agency?" I would say it was tough losing. We lost like 3 starters on defense.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say
on day one it was 3. If you not if you look at what happened today, that's another one technically. Cause it's Diablo.
I'm gonna give it a B. I'm gonna give him a B. Just because I see what they're doing. I see the thought process in what they're doing. They're not gonna overpay. Pete Carroll wants his guys in the building. It's kind of obvious. Yeah. Like he did not want to overpay for guys that he really doesn't really know like that, or it feels like he can replace at a cheaper cost, pretty much. I'll give it a B, and I like them bringing back Kuntz. I think that was big.
That was massive.
I feel like if the Raiders defense is going to do anything this year, it's going to start with their D-line. And for them to bring back Kuntz, and who we feel like is ready to take that next step, he just needs that opportunity to be healthy. I think that was big for him to come back. And then I like that Jeremy Chin signing too.
Yeah,
that was a solid, similar player to Morgan. That they're both versatile, physical player. So I thought that was a nice signing too, and they got him at a cheaper, like literally half the cost.
Exactly.
So a lot of value signings. I'll give it a B. I mean, I'm not gonna just give it an A. Just saying that, they didn't have like.
Well, you already said you bought in, bro. You said you bought in already.
You know what? I take it back. I A- just because the Geno Smith trade. Are we including that? Are we just saying free agency? I mean, because there's a trade. Technically, it's a trade. Trading for Geno, that was like, man, that was for a third-round pick. Yeah, that's solid, bro. Like, we didn't have to give up a premium draft pick in that, the first couple rounds. Yeah. And I think it's going to be great for whoever. It's going to be great for that quarterback room. We got a starting quarterback, but at the same time, we got someone that could mentor, and then the young QB that we're going to hopefully draft in this upcoming draft. So I'll give it an A-. I'm going to bump it up to A- if we're gonna include Geno Smith. But what's your grade?
I give it a B. The average.
These are overall grades, by the way. He's saying day 1 and day 2. Like, the Raiders haven't really done too much today, so I can't really. It's kind of income. Yeah, we're just giving an overall grade so far.
Just looking at the totality of all the moves they made so far during the offseason, the big positives for getting rid of Andre James, big positive for getting Geno, big positive for re-upping Max and for bringing back Kuntz. But the Alex Kappa that's a negative mark. And then losing out on all the starters that you lost out on, even though you were basically outbid. You still got to kind of subtraction points for that. But the guys they signed, I like. Like, I've been watching that and Landon Roberts guy. That dude looks like he's gonna be a problem. Like, I was telling, matter of fact, I was chopping it up with Ray. I was like, man, that's like Spillane 2.0, basically, man. Like, that's what that's looking like to me. Will he turn out to be the same level of player? We don't know, but he's a guy that's come from some good pedigree. He was coached in New England by Bill Belichick and Jared Mayo, and then he was just recently coached, in Pittsburgh, under Mike Tomlin, and his linebacker coach was the old Seattle linebacker and former Raider Aaron Curry, right? So he's being coached by some guys that know how to play the position, and I like that signing. And Jeremy Chin was a guy I've liked ever since he was coming out in the draft, right? He's a guy that was like a specimen, a great athlete, physical, great build. Was a small school guy, but I think he was like unanimous All-American. Got an invite to the Senior Bowl, did his thing at the Senior Bowl, did his thing at the Combine as well. I think he has a perfect RAS score, which is your relative athletic score. So it's on a scale of 1 through 10, he's a 10. So he's a guy that I think is versatile. Him and Palomau, they're basically interchangeable, so you can do a lot of creative things with those guys. And we all know Patrick Graham loves to tinker, loves to be a mad scientist and come up with these new schemes and formations and disguises and all that stuff. And when you have two guys with their skill sets and their athleticism, he can do a lot of that stuff, especially in the secondary. So I think we've made some very good signings. But like I said, outside of Kappa, that's the only one I don't like. Most of the signings, like just about every signing, has been a 1-year deal. Outside of Kappa, who got a 2-year deal for some reason, right? Like, probably the worst player we signed somehow gets a 2-year deal, but that's neither here nor there. But right. But yeah, overall, I give it a B.
Okay, that's fair. And that's if you're including Geno Smith.
Yeah, it's including Geno.
Okay. I'm giving it an A-. Severe's giving it a B. But yeah, appreciate everybody coming through. Make sure to clock in, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Man, we got people pulling up left and right. Geno 316. Oh man, hey man, it's all good, man. Hey, Geno Smith is gonna come in with a little bit more swagger in that quarterback room. I'll tell you that. Steve in the building says, glad we invested in trenches as we should. Also, we kept our ground. Rather, I feel like there's some players that to be had too.
Yeah.
As well. So hopefully, I mean, free agency ain't over. I think from here on out, it's going to be value signings, but hey, we'll see who that would be. I mean, there's like a guard. I mean, I feel like they should maybe, like Steve's saying, I mean, he's saying glad we invested in trenches. I think he's talking about, like guys like Kuntz. I'm hoping that, they maybe grab another guard. I'm seeing, hopefully they can grab a Chase Young and then grab maybe another guard, like a guy like, I know he's been hurt, but Tevin Jenkins seems like a nice little option at guard. 27. I mean, I don't know what his deal would look like. These guards are getting paid crazy monies, but
last year they get paid crazy money.
But he does come with the injury red flag, so I don't know what his deal would look like. But man, players with injury red flags are getting paid. That's how bad. I won't say how bad this free agency is. I feel like how weak it is. Like I feel like teams are like, you know what, we have no choice. There's no other. We're gonna have to pay guys like Dre Greenlaw, who's been injured, Hufunga, who I liked, but he got paid. You know what I mean? He got paid pretty well. A guy like Javon Holland got paid as well. He got paid. I think he got a 3-year, $45 million deal. Yeah. Hufunga got a 3-year, $45 million deal. And then who else? Who else was hurt? Also getting the bag. I mean, man, just look at like what the Patriots did. Just
Travarius Ward. I think Travarius Ward. It wasn't necessarily hurt. He had some personal stuff, but
okay,
he got a nice little bag. Yeah, man, it's some people that are getting paid. There's some fat contracts being handed out, man. So.
Oh, that's another guy too. Daryl just brought him up, man. Appreciate you coming through. He says, wow, the person I mentioned a few days back was signed by the Raiders. Stokes. Yeah. Eric Stokes from the Packers, who has a little injury history himself as well. But at the end of the day, like the Raiders didn't break the bank. It was like 1 year, $4 million deal. So,
exactly.
Hey, see, the Raiders are just handling it real smart. We're like, we're not going to overpay for guys that we feel like, are a little too risky to be giving out a whole lot of money. So, and like you said, Severe, man, you're not going to win championships through free agency.
Exactly.
And hopefully the Raiders can back up the grade I just gave them. I gave them an A, but I'm giving them an A I would say the grade is going to go down if the draft is trash. Like, we gotta back it up with a good draft. Then it will all make sense.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, once we get the full picture, we'll kind of be able to tell better, like what their plan was. Like you said, there's still a lot more free agency left. Like these is where the value really starts coming in right now in these second and third days where, hey, it's like all the big money goes out in those first initial 2 days, and now everybody's kind of starting to settle in, so you can really get some good value this time around free agency. So I look for Spytech to probably he was probably excited, as you said before, he cheap, so he like, damn, now we shopping in the clearance section. Like this is my game. This is what I like to see. So I think he'll probably get a little bit more active over these next few days.
JD says get Richard Sherman to unretire. I mean, I think he's past his prime at this point, but I seen Richard Sherman react to the trade, and he wasn't too happy about it. Obviously he former player Seahawks. I mean, he didn't agree with the move. He's pretty much saying that something is going on. Something happened between him, Geno and the Seahawks, because it didn't make any sense for them to trade away a player like that was already in the building, that's already established in that locker room, established within that team. They went ahead and traded him, and they pretty much traded him for Sam Darnold.
Yeah, exactly.
So
basically.
We'll see how that works out. And I like that the Raiders went for someone that was more of a proven commodity, because Geno Smith he didn't just play well for 1 year. He's played well for a good amount of time, like at least two to 3 years, compared to a Sam Darnold who, for most of his career, didn't really show anything until last year, and then the last couple of games kind of made everybody think like, I don't know if I want to pay this guy.
Exactly.
Man,
Exactly.
if he finished strong, like let's say if he played well, but they still end up losing, there could be a possibility that he's still with the Vikings.
Possibility.
You know, I know they drafted J.J. McCarthy, but I think it kind of like put the nail in the coffin as far as like him coming back to the Vikings when he had the last 2 games that he really struggled. So it just made sense. So you know what, like let's just go with the young rook that we drafted in the top 10. So you know,
if he finishes strong, it's hard to move off of that. It's hard to move off of that. If he balls out and they just happen to lose, like that's the last thing, like image you saw was Sam Darnold balling out in the playoff game. You know, even though y'all came up short, and you get rid of him. Like at that point, they probably would have at least franchised him.
Yeah. I mean, at the very least, you know what I mean, and then maybe try to get some trade compensation for him, just because they feel like his value is that high. But I mean, I guess I don't know. Maybe they had like a verbal agreement, because they could have probably did that anyways, because he was the best QB in free agency that was available in free agency, and they probably could have did it, but they allowed him to enter free agency without franchising him. Isaac, you know, Raider Way says Will Johnson round 1. You know what? And this is another thing too. This goes back to, I didn't mention this as well, because I talked about how the Geno Smith move kind of gives the Raiders a little bit of flexibility. Now I feel like the Raiders could be a trade down candidate. I kind of like that. I kind of like that Raiders trade, especially a guy like Will Johnson, who a lot of mock drafts for some reason don't have him go high. So if the Raiders trade down maybe someone at top 10, top 15, you know what I mean, and still get a guy like Will Johnson, I'm not mad at that.
Right.
Or, you know, trenches, corner. I don't know if I want to take a safety, though. I don't know if I want to take a safety. I didn't have that in the Raiders' plans, but, you know.
Yeah, safety, yeah. Not. Yeah, we just signed Jeremy Chin. We got Isaiah Palomar. We locked up long term. Which is, I mean, I think people forget about that move, because all these other moves are happening. We forgot we signed Isaiah Palomar too. That was a little bit earlier too. So, we kind of got to factor that into the moves too. So I don't see us taking a safety early. To be honest with you, you know, like.
But you never know, man, because you know, Pete Carroll, he was a guy that took a safety in the first round. I think he took Earl Thomas in the first round.
Did Earl Thomas go first round? Did he go first round?
He went first round. I remember that draft because I thought he coached at USC and what's his name was in the draft. He went to the 49ers, but he kind of flamed out.
Taylor Mays.
Taylor Mays. He was on the board, and then he ended up, you know, obviously he was like, nah, I'm going for the best player available, and that's Earl Thomas.
Taylor Mays is a bum though.
But you know, he that was a guy that he coached up in you know how people try to connect the dots. Oh, he coached him in college, and
like I said, that could be a Will Howard situation where he's coached him in college. You know, like Chip Kelly, like he coached him in college. Yeah, y'all think he good. I know the real behind the scenes, so you know.
Yeah. I'm reading this right here. You must be trolling. Raiders get Aaron Rodgers next year or what? Like, come on, man. Aaron Rodgers, like that's done. That's done. As soon as they made that trade, it's over.
It's
if anything, where's Aaron Rodgers gonna go? I think the last I heard, there's rumors of him going to the Steelers.
Pittsburgh. Yeah, I heard Pittsburgh. Yeah. Between Pittsburgh and the Giants. Those are the two teams basically. So it's between those two teams. You know, if he's trying to win, maybe Pittsburgh. But if he wants to just stay comfortable, like you can live in your same spot and play for the Giants. So.
No, for real. Because I mean, maybe. Well, I mean, they signed your favorite QB.
Yeah, I saw that.
Hold on. Did the Giants sign the Fields, or was it New York? The New York Jets.
It's the Jets.
The Jets. Oh yeah, the Jets. My bad.
The Jets.
Man, he got 20 mil, man. He got 20 mil, man. He got 2 years, 40 mil. So
the coach signed Daniel Jones to compete with Anthony Richardson.
If Anthony Richardson can't beat Daniel Jones, oh man, he made position change.
Maybe you might have to do a Terrell Pryor.
Something, man, because Daniel Jones ain't like, it's not like it's Aaron. Like if Aaron Rodgers was coming to the team, I'm like, damn, man, that's gonna be tough for him because Aaron Rodgers is gonna come with that reputation, and I'm sure he got a chip on his shoulder. But Daniel Jones, that's kind of a winnable battle for Anthony Richardson. It's not like he's going against but then at the same time, Richardson was, he was trash this year. He was garbage.
He was horrible. Like
yeah.
he was horrible. Yeah, he was bad. I mean, look, man, Daniel Jones had that 1 year in New York where he lit it up. So
right,
he took him to the playoffs. I think he won a playoff game. I think, if I recall, did he beat the Vikings in the playoffs? Did he beat the Vikings? I don't remember. I remember he had a playoff win though, for sure. Yeah. But he had that one great year, and then New York decided to pay him over Saquon, and the rest is history. So, but in a one-on-one battle with him and Anthony Richardson, there's a good chance Daniel Jones might win that. To be honest with you, there's a good chance Daniel Jones can win that.
Jersey Raiders says Starks or Manowari. I think that's the safety that killed it in the combine. I guess, man, I don't want to take a safety. It's just like,
if he's asking which one of those guys I like better, I'll probably go Manowari.
Just because of the athletic profile.
Yeah, athletic profile. Yeah, he's bigger, faster, a little more. Malachi Starks is a good athlete too. Don't make no mistake about it. But Manowari is a freak of an athlete. Neither one of them are that great in pass coverage. So neither one of them are great there. So it's like you leave a little bit to be desired. Manowari is better than Starks, I want to say, in pass coverage, but neither were great there. But yeah, I'll probably go Manowari. I
think another thing too, as well, like we haven't talked about, is wide receiver. Early on, going into free agency, I was like, you know what, I wouldn't be mad if the Raiders, got Godwin. They were able to offer him a contract and brought him into the building. I'm like, I like that, but that didn't happen. Godwin returned to the Bucs, and now we're kind of left with scraps in free agency. I mean, we got some familiar faces. Amari Cooper. I mean, I don't know. At this point, I don't know if I want. Like, man, what's crazy about Amari? Coming out of Alabama, like, we all knew about his speed, route running, and even hands. Yeah. But like his whole career, it's really plagued him. Like he has a terrible issue, especially last year too. I think one of the worst receivers as far as drops. Yeah. Like, and it was an issue with the Raiders too as well. Like, I don't know why. Like, but hey, maybe Amari Cooper, maybe. I don't know. Maybe for the cheap. I don't know if anybody would be interested in doing that. But is he a little bit past his prime? I think there might be something there. I don't know if he would want to come back to the Raiders, especially because he didn't seem too happy when he played for the Raiders.
No, he didn't seem too happy when he got drafted by the Raiders. He didn't seem happy.
Because when he went to the Cowboys, he was like smiling. I'm like, what the hell? Like, you smile? Like, I thought you was like a Tim Duncan where like no emotion. Like they don't really. But he just, I guess he didn't really like it. He didn't like it in Oakland. But it is what it is. But going back to wide receiver, I think that it goes back to your guy that you kind of like. You early on, you were like, hey, T-Mac at number 6 is a guy that you like. And now, like, I might be able to see that happening if they trade down. I don't know if they're able to trade down, and I don't think they'll risk it because I think T-Mac is – I don't think there's anybody that they would take at number 6 outside of T-Mac as far as wide receiver.
No.
So I think that's going to be a big option at number 6.
Yeah.
Let's see. Raider Ray has a question for you, man. Severe, man.
What's up?
Would you lock up Eichenberg to a long-term deal now?
Y'all lock up Eichenberg to a long-term deal at Starbucks as a barista.
Man.
As a barista, yeah. He's selling coffee.
We're down to Eichenberg. What? Amari Burney, Amari Gaynor,
Mauga.
Luke Masterson. Oh, he's gone. I mean, that's.
I think he's going. I don't know if they tendered him or not.
No,
We just bring.
I don't think we should bring him back.
And we brought in Roberts.
Yeah, we brought in Roberts. Yeah, but I feel like we need another. We need a couple. I mean, but even Roberts, that's kind of dangerous though, because it sounds like he's more of a two down player. I know. Maybe Patrick Graham, whatever he did to maximize a Spillane, maybe he could do that with a Roberts. Yeah, but it's kind of like we need another linebacker that can cover.
Yeah.
So maybe that's gonna be in the draft. Who knows? Yeah. But my guy Raiders Smoke in the building, man. Appreciate him coming through with a super chat. He says, loving the fact we're not overpaying, building in the trenches. Spillane and Morg are more expendable than a DN. Facts. 100%. 100%, man. He says, and love the re-signings also. Yeah, for sure. And re-signings, he's talking about Kuntz, and he's talking about guys like Adam Butler. Yeah, for sure. Trenches.
Definitely. Yeah, man. Yeah, really.
Defensive line, man. So, man, appreciate you supporting the show, man, as always, man. Louis Garcia says, what up, fellas? From now on, when you say a specific player got a nice little bag, you got to say, pause, please, and thank you, salute.
First of all,
I got you, man. Louis, man. I should have known, man, before I clicked on your name. I'm the Feds Coupon John. Yeah, man. John, man, he's gonna build through the draft. But if you're gonna build through the draft, you gotta hit on them. You gotta hit on those picks. And I think if he does, then I mean, I don't think we're gonna be tripping off free agency like that. Let's see. Oh, man, Geno's better than Sam. Yeah, facts. I agree. I think he's a better QB. I think he's a better QB. Jahad Campbell. I think shout out to Mo. Obviously, he pointed him out as a guy that he liked. 12-18 range. That means, EC, you're saying that most likely we're gonna trade down, which I wouldn't be mad at.
I wouldn't be mad at either. But take a linebacker in the first round.
Yeah, man, I don't know, man.
And he's fairly new to, I know it's opposite, but he's fairly new to being a linebacker. He was recruited as an edge player. Mm-hmm. I think, did he play his freshman year? No, he didn't play it. I think his freshman year they moved him to linebacker because they had so many guys that were able to rush the passer. They needed him more as a linebacker, so they converted him there. So he still, we talk about all the time about these guys we try to convert from other positions to linebacker. Like how well does that translate? So it's another situation there where we're converting a guy at this time is from an edge or pass rusher position to linebacker. Yeah. So to do the instincts and all that stuff, like how well does that carry over to the NFL?
Yeah, and I don't know if this is like a strong linebacker class too as well. It's like, damn, it's just this might be a situation where we're gonna have to find a creative way that we might not even I don't want to say we might not address it, but I think in my eyes, I think BPA, man.
Yeah.
But Tom Telesco special. Tom was in the building, man. Tom would love this situation. He would love it. Oh man, this is easy. This is easy.
He would love it. He would love it.
Steve, man, he's just also traded a bunch of picks for Jamal Adams too, though. Yeah. Oh, you talking about John's? Yeah, Seattle. Yeah, was that Pete or is that John? I mean, it could have been both. I think they both have pretty much good say on the roster. It's true. Yeah. That's true. Yeah. That's true. Yeah, that's kind of ugly though. Jamal Adams, damn, he's probably one of the last safeties to play. I mean, he was just a weird player that came at a weird time, where the NFL was kind of transitioning to more coverage type safeties, and he was just more of a guy that was in the box blitzing, and then once he got to Seattle, I felt like he was just getting exposed left and right, especially in coverage.
Yeah, it got bad from Seattle.
Man. But man, let's move it along, man. Appreciate everybody coming through. Make sure to clock in, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Man, it's that time, man. It is that time. It's flag on the play.
Personal foul, 69, offense. He was giving them the business.
So this week on flag on the play, man, we got a couple of things to talk about, and I guess we can just transition to like basketball real quick.
Yeah.
If you guys remember a player, Jordan Poole, who used to play, for the Warriors, back a few years ago, and on his way out, man, I think that if y'all paid attention to basketball back then, I think Draymond kind of gave him like a crazy send off, man. I think was that his last year?
That was last year, yeah.
Last year, where Draymond kind of gave him like a little 1-2 combination at practice.
Yeah.
And ever since then, I felt like he hasn't been the same player, or his reputation has been crazy. But this is a clip during the game. Let me go ahead and pull this up here. Let's see here if y'all can see it. All right, let me see here. Okay, so there's a little something happening.
Tussle. Yeah.
Little tussle happening during the game. I don't know if it was at the end of the game, but let me move this out the way. You can see it.
And everybody had to get a little shoved in. Watch this.
Middleton sticking up for his guy.
So you'll see Jordan Poole come down here, and there's like a little tussle, like Severe was saying, and you'll see
Keyshawn George, I guess.
Jordan Poole
everybody
right there
had to give a shove.
give a
Watch
shove,
this.
but walk away.
There's a shove right there on Cade. There's a shove back. Now here
I feel like
comes
there should be a
Middleton
better
standing
angle,
up, as you said, but then Middleton's going to get pushed too by Duren. And then watch what Poole does. Poole comes in very late, and he gets a shove on Duren right there. And Duren's like laugh at him like, you really don't want any of this.
That's
sticking up for his guy.
That's what that's Poole started having flashbacks. he saw
that's it right
there.
Yeah,
he saw Jalen Duren walking down on him. He started having flashbacks. He was gonna get another 2-piece in the biscuit. He backed on up.
Man. But I just felt like it was a flag on the play, man, on Jordan Poole. Just a little, we I know we're talking football today, but sometimes we gotta pivot sometimes and see what's going on around the league, around the sports, and I feel like Jordan Poole deserved flag on the play today. How's he doing with the Wizards? I don't know is he playing well with them? I know they signed him to a big time contract.
He's hit and miss, to be honest with you.
Yeah, man. Early on, a lot of people talked about his leadership wasn't there, and you know what I mean. It's just I feel like he just hasn't been the same since that Draymond situation. But yeah, flag on the play on Jordan Poole. But let's move it along to the second flag on the play, and this one is more so about Davante Adams.
Yeah.
Davante Adams, who to me, I thought that was one of the best. I called it out. I mean, I was like, man, if he goes, I didn't want him to go to the Chargers. I just didn't want him to go to the Chargers. That would have been disgusting. But him going to the Rams, I think, was a big-time move for the Rams and them. I feel like it's a perfect situation. Great offensive mind and Sean McVay. And, Davante ends up going there. But he ends up getting a number change.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't get a number change. He had, I think Puka Nacua had number 17. And if you guys remember, there was a clip of Davante like during the season, and I think I forgot it was one of the shows that he was on, and they threw out Commanders as a possible fit, and he was like, I don't know.
It was up in Adams. It was up in Adams.
Yeah, it was up in Adams.
Same show he always gossips
Same
on.
Same show. And I think he was like, he jokingly was like, oh, I couldn't go to the Commanders because I know that I wouldn't get my number. And I believe who has his number? I think
Terry, Scary Terry, I think.
Scary Terry, yeah, Terry McLaurin. He had number 17, and he ends up going to the Rams, and then he forces I mean, I don't know if he forced would probably be a strong word, but I just felt like it was funny that he Puka Nacua, who's an established player in his own right. That's kind of interesting.
Exactly.
He's an established player in his own right. He ends up changing his number to number 12, but the bigger flag, I think this is another interesting little fact is that they recently re-signed Jimmy G, the quarterback that he was trashing on a Netflix wide receiver documentary.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be interesting, especially because if Stafford, I'm not gonna lie, if Stafford gets hurt and Jimmy G comes up, is Devontae gonna get a pass?
Oh no, he gonna get a pass. Oh, Jimmy G gonna line him up nice. Jimmy G gonna line him up like a fresh haircut, bro. He gonna line that man up so smooth. Oh, bro, he gonna let them play like the Patriots. He gonna lead them right into Robert Spillane.
Right.
Here you go, big dog. Like, yeah,
right.
Jimmy G got a long memory. I'm sure he remembers everything that was said. And he remembered all that hospital ball talk. He gonna serve him up cold.
Yeah. And then this is another bonus. We're gonna throw this in there. Another bonus flag on a play, man. Man, these players are getting overpaid. All these players and I guess it goes back to us talking about earlier how this was a weak free agency class. So players that would have probably got a certain type of deal are getting a higher deal just because they're like the top players at their position. So a guy like Morig, he's getting top 5 money, but is he a top 5 player at his position, a top 3 player at his position? I'm like, I don't know about that. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I would want a little bit more of a ball hawk. And Nate Hobbs, we didn't even talk about Nate Hobbs. Shout out to Snoop.
Yeah, man.
He says, Snoop says, Packers fan here. What are we getting with Nate Hobbs? Nate Hobbs, I like Nate Hobbs, man. Great. When he's on the field, he's a playmaker, good tackler, not afraid to be physical. He can get exposed at coverage at times, but I think the biggest thing with Nate Hobbs is his health. I think that's the big thing too. Like, I mean, y'all bet. Did they give him a Josh Jacobs deal?
I don't think so.
Because I seen someone where they gave him it's up to $50 million in incentives. I'm like, up to $50 million in incentives. Like, what kind of contract did he sign? I'm about to go check it right now. Spot track.
Yeah, I don't know because I know it's like 12 a year. I was like, that's crazy. Robert Spillane getting more than him on average annual value because it was like 12. But I don't know. I don't remember what the guarantees were on the deal though.
Let me look at Nate Hobbs' contract, man.
But yeah, man. But to answer the question, man, you're getting like when Nate Hobbs is on the field, Nate Hobbs leaves it all out there. He's gonna probably be instantly one of the best athletes on your team, if not the best athlete on your team. He's a guy that plays in the nickel, has played on the outside before. That's not necessarily his forte, but he's one of the better tacklers at the corner position. One of the better blitzers at the corner position. The guy that just he's in his playbook. He's studying film. It's quiet, low key. You see him doing interviews. He's not like a super rah guy.
Damn.
No, but I think Max was saying he had to chase him for a long time to get him to come on the Rush podcast. So you getting a guy that's all about ball. If he's healthy and on the field, you got a heck of a player.
I'm not gonna lie. I feel like the Raiders could have did this.
Oh, 4 for 48. Who am I thinking about? 4 for 48.
Nate Hobbs.
Yeah.
Nate Hobbs got 4 years, 48. But look at this. Am I tripping? Am I reading this wrong? So Nate Hobbs in 2025, his base salary is $1,200,000.
Yeah.
In 2026, his base salary is 1.8 mil.
Yeah.
And look at this. There's a potential out of 2026.
Yeah.
So
That's
basically,
crazy.
They're kind of protecting themselves. They're
so
giving
basically. So basically, only 16. So basically, it's $8 million a year over 2 years, basically. Essentially. So basically, it's like $8 million a year over 2 years.
But that's a I'm not gonna lie. That's a
It's not bad. I mean, $8 million.
That's a doable contract though. I feel like Raiders could have probably did that.
I mean, but maybe Nate wanted to leave. Maybe Nate. He's close with Rich Bisaccia. He played college ball at Illinois. So he's familiar with that area. Wisconsin is right there. So maybe he wanted to get back to that area and get back to playing with Rich Bisaccia. Josh is up there. Keyshawn is up there.
Mm-hmm.
Who else? Yeah, I think that's on thing too. And Josh, Keyshawn, and Rich, they're all up there. So it's familiar faces. So maybe he wanted to get back to that area.
Yeah, and that could be a possibility too. But it's gonna be man. That's a doable contract, man. And technically too, Josh Jacobs' contract was doable too. To be honest with you.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was doable.
Because even you made jokes about how like, man, it's essentially just a year-to-year contract.
Exactly. Yeah.
So the Raiders could have took that risk and still been competitive and had a starting running back, and obviously he played well with Green Bay. Green Bay, man, they know what they're doing over there.
Yeah.
This is actually a pretty good deal. It's crazy when you see it. You see 4 years, $48 million. I'm passing on that for sure. But it's just base salary. Let me see. I might be reading this. I can't break down. Okay, so 1 year. Hold up. 1 year potential out. Yeah, man. It says It says potential out 2026, 1 year, 18.2 million, 12 million dead cap. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, man. But yeah, Nate Hobbs is a guy that we didn't even mention. But yeah, man, that's another starter on the Raiders defense that the Raiders are gonna have to replace, and that's that nickel corner spot. So that's a big position, especially as like in today's NFL. Nickel corner is an important position to fill that we got to figure out. Hopefully, man, we went from just needing a number one corner, now we need a nickel corner and a number one corner.
Yeah, man. Exactly. Unless you're really confident in Ja'Cory and Jack still holding it down, that's the only thing. Right.
But yeah, let's move it along, man. Let's get to notable quotables.
Yes, sir.
This is where we play, some quotes around the NFL that we felt like is worth playing. And Severe, if you want to give the intro to the first clip.
Yes, sir. So, we're talking about quarterbacks, and a lot was made about Tom Brady. What he was bringing to the organization, and if you look at what he had to say. Tom Brady, we've heard him talk about before how he doesn't like how the NFL was pushing quarterbacks, rushing them to play. And he talked about how, one of the things he was talking about is how, college is no longer teaching quarterbacks the correct way, right? Like it's a flawed system now. And I think that may influence his opinion on the upcoming draft.
There used to be college programs. Now there are college teams. You're no longer learning a program, you're learning a playbook. And the program is ultimately, like at Michigan, for me, that was a pro-style program. 5 years, I got to learn how to drop back pass, to read defenses, to read coverages, to be coached. I had to learn from being 7th quarterback on the depth chart to moving up to 3rd to ultimately being a starter. I had to learn all those things in college. That was development. Then I went to New England, and I was developed by Coach Belichick and the offensive staff there. I didn't start my first year. I think it's just a tragedy that we're forcing these rookies to play early. But the reality is the only reason why they are is because we dumbed the game down, which has allowed them to play. It used to be thought of at a higher level. We used to spend hours and hours in the offseason and training camp trying to be a little bit better than next year. But I think what happens is it discourages the coaches from going to deep levels because they realize the players don't have the opportunity to go to a deep level, so they're just going to teach them where they're at. There used to be college.
So he said a lot there, man. And I think the way the Raiders are attacking the quarterback position makes me think that they're not done adding to that room, because now that you got like a proven veteran in Geno Smith, I mean, I'm not saying that he's a top 3 quarterback, top 5 quarterback, but he's a solid QB. You can argue that he's been top 12, at least top 15 quarterback. Now that you got him in the building, now you're able to bring in a QB, like we said earlier, and have him just stay on the bench, and just take it slowly. It could be a Jordan Love situation. It could. He might be ready day one. You know what I mean? He might be ready after year one. But at the end of the day, like, they're not going to force him to get on the football field because we already got a guy in the building. Look, the best quarterback in the NFL is Patrick Mahomes. Remember how he got into the NFL? He didn't start his rookie year. It was Alex Smith who was the guy over there. Perfect, bridge QB for Kansas City. Obviously, they felt like, he was a good QB, but we all knew that he wasn't going to be the guy to lead the Chiefs to the Super Bowl, at least be that guy to lead a team all the way there. I mean, he's been a part of some good teams, but they end up getting a guy like with a high ceiling like Patrick Mahomes, had him sit for a year, probably probably watch a proven vet do it week in, week out, learn how to be a QB. Who can that be in this draft? Let's start there. Who can that be in this draft outside of, the obvious first two in, a lot of people are like talking about Cam Wards, the Shedeur Sanders, but who are a couple of QBs that you would say, like, what can be available in the second or third round and can develop?
Obviously, Jackson Dart is a guy, I really like. I think he can come into the NFL and play, fairly quickly. But if you want to let him sit a year, he did run what system he ran with Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss wasn't exactly pro style. So if you felt he would benefit from sitting a year, that could be something right there. Another guy, people have talked about, bounced around, is Jalen Milroe. Let that guy sit and develop and work on the fine-tuned aspects of being a quarterback, the details of the position, but that's hit or miss. Sometimes people have it or they don't. So you're really taking a kind of a leap of faith there. Like, can he ever learn to play the position that way? Trying to think, are there some other guys?
But he needs some time to develop. I like the Jalen Milroe in this situation.
Yeah.
In the third round.
Where you get fourth.
You saying fourth? He's not gonna be in the fourth, bro. Come on. He's not gonna
I'm not taking him before the fourth. If he's not there at third, look, I'm taking a running back in the third at least. If we don't take one in the second. Now, if we take a running back in the second, maybe you can convince me to take Milroe in the third, but if we don't take a running back in the first or the second, you definitely got to take a running back in the third. You
would take a running back in the first?
I'm not saying I would. I'm saying if you don't.
Oh, okay. Oh, damn! You getting on the Genty, all aboard on the Genty pick at number 6?
I'm not saying. I said if you don't take one in either of those rounds, you have to take one in the third. So that's why I'm not taking Milroe that high. I'm not touching Dylan Gabriel. Tyler Shook is a guy that, he's about to be 26. Like, he should be ready to play already. If you need some development, brother, you in the wrong league, right? So I'm trying to think.
Look,
maybe Cal McCord. Cal McCord has talent. He can get a little bit reckless with the ball sometimes, but the talent is there. So maybe you want to sit him down a little bit. Will Howard too. Will Howard he struggled basically all season until like the end of the year, college football playoff started. That's when he played his best ball. If you can kind of harness that, that there's something there as well. But the main two guys I'm looking at are Jackson and even though I'm not a big fan of him as a prospect, I can see the logic with Jalen Monroe.
See, look, if we're gonna get someone the Raiders kind of like exposed themselves. I want to say they exposed themselves, but they kind of told on themselves when they went after a guy like Stafford and then going after a guy like Geno Smith. They kind of told you how they felt about the quarterback draft and how they felt about their chances of getting maybe a Cam Ward pretty low. Yeah, and just how they felt about the quarterback draft overall. So they went over. They went and got a proven veteran, and they got that position taken care of. I think if you're going to get a guy like, and you're going to bet on someone, I mean, why don't you go for the traits? Why don't you go for the big arm, the athletic profile, and let him sit and just bet on it. And if it doesn't work out, if you're just spending a 3rd round pick, hey, quarterback position is a hard position to get right. So, I mean, they can easily pivot and get a quarterback next year. Easily.
The thing about it is that, like, you if there are other guys you think like have a better chance of developing than him, you probably want to go with those guys. I know we were talking about this the other day, but like talking about Russell Westbrook, right? Like if Russell Westbrook ever learned how to if he ever had a J, he'd be unstoppable as a basketball player, right? But some guys they can never learn that skill. No matter how hard they work at it, they can never learn it. You think about LeBron, right? LeBron early in his career, LeBron couldn't shoot. Now LeBron turned himself into like a pretty good shooter, like damn near 40% free throw shooter, last year. So, 40% 3-point shooter. So some guys, some guys can learn it, some guys can't. You have to make the determination whether or not you think Jalen Monroe is a guy that can or a guy that can't.
Oh, yeah, no, 100%. The Raiders should not be drafting a Jalen Monroe if they don't have a plan for him. They don't believe in him and developing him. Like, come on, like that's just that'd be a wasted pick. But if it sounded like, it could be smoke. It's a lot of offseason smoke. But it sounded like they were able to talk to guys like a Jalen Monroe, and I forgot who else. I think Ewers, I believe, was the other QB who. Yeah. They said that they had a really, really good conversation as far as they're talking to Monroe during the combine and all them, right? So if that's the case, I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't mind it because it's not going to be a situation where he's going to come in like day one and he's going to be the starter. It's a situation where he's going to have time to develop because it sounds like the Raiders are going to be locking in a old boy for a couple of years now, at least 2 to 3 years. Yeah. So. I mean, that's all I'm saying. And if you're gonna have someone develop, I would want someone who has at least, man. What I envision the Raiders quarterback is having a big arm, like being today's version of a quarterback where they have all the tools to be successful. Doesn't mean I'm not saying that that's what you need to be. There's examples of quarterbacks not having everything, but like me personally, I would love to see a guy that has the ability to get out in the open space and just break a 50-yard run or drop back and just scan the field, throw a 40-yard, dart down the field or, it's just, that'd be nice. But I'm just throwing it out there. I mean, we'll see what the Raiders do, but it's just interesting to go back and hear Tom Brady talk about it. And I feel like that's how it's going to play out. I feel like they're going to still get a quarterback and they're still going to develop somebody. But shout out to Raiders Smoke, man. Again, man, with the support, man. Appreciate you, my guy. He says a lot about A-Rod. Jets chose Fields over Rodgers. Yeah, I think it was just more about, yeah, man, that is kind of bad. I mean, Rodgers is an all-time great Hall of Famer, but sheesh, they did not want him in the building. And I think that's just it's just a situation where I think they just a new incoming head coach, new regime. Rodgers at this point in his career, I mean, he's like 40 years old. I think it's just like they're like, you know what, it's probably best to go in a different direction because I don't think the coach wants to be attached to A-Rod, especially. I mean, he did kind of get what's his name fired. It felt like he got Saleh fired a little bit. I don't know.
Oh, he definitely ain't. He definitely got Saleh fired.
Yeah. My guy Smoke, man, appreciate you supporting the show. But
Smoke the goat.
Smoke the goat. But yeah, man, let's get into. You said Raider Ray says $16 million guaranteed. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's okay. This is the Nate Hobbs. You guys are talking about the Nate Hobbs deal. I'm looking, man. I'm behind in the chat, man. Appreciate everybody coming through. Make sure to click and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. $16 million guaranteed. Okay, if it's $16 million guaranteed for what is it, like essentially a 2-year deal? $8 million?
Yeah, basically.
Like Severe was saying.
Okay. After the second year, yeah. So yeah.
First year is guaranteed, then the second partially guaranteed. They offered him highly but very low. Okay.
Okay.
Would you take Hobbs $8 million a year? Man,
hell yeah.
What the hell?
I'll take it after $8 million a year.
Why didn't they do that? Why didn't they do that? Why? You know what?
Bro, we're paying Alex Kappa $5.5 million a year, bro. You couldn't pay like, you're right. What?
Why didn't they give Hobbs that deal? And he has the size, the athletic profile that you would think a Pete Carroll would like. You know, he's like what, 6'2", 6'3".
Yeah.
You know, he's a slot corner. I know health has not been the best for him, but still, Raiders could have did some creative deal like that to bring him back. I mean, and I made a joke the other day about Patrick Graham. I was like, hey, like if Patrick Graham coaches up a great defense or good to great defense next year, I mean, give this man a head coaching job, because he literally is going to have a completely, you know, this is what, his fifth year in the system, fourth year. You know, like, but at the same time, he lost like pretty much everybody on every level of the defense except for D-line. He lost linebacker, corner, safety.
Yeah.
You know, it is what it is, man. But let's get back to it. Let's get back to the notable quotables. And the other day, good interview with a Seattle beat writer. Severe, if you want to give the intro.
Yeah, man. So this clip is we all know Tashawn Reed. You know, we've had him on this show before. He's the Raiders beat writer, or one of the Raiders beat writers for The Athletic. He kind of went into the process of how the Raiders decided to go after Geno Smith and everyone who was involved in that process.
On the Raiders side of things, in terms of how they landed on Smith as their top option at quarterback, obviously they tried to get Stafford last week. That didn't work out. And this week, minority owner Tom Brady came to the team headquarters partly to get Max Crosby's deal done, and we'll talk about that later. He signed a massive 3-year extension. But he also, held a series of meetings focused on quarterbacks with the GM, John Spytek, Pete Carroll, offense coordinator Chip Kelly, and quarterback coach Greg Olsen. And coming out of that meeting, that's when they landed on, all right, let's go try to get Geno. And I think that's notable for Raiders fans who've, obviously we've been reporting for months how involved Tom Brady is in personnel matters, but he's essentially, I wouldn't say leading the quarterbacks meetings, but he's having like a very instrumental role in quarterback meetings and on the Raiders side of things in terms of how.
Man, that's kind of interesting, and it goes back to like literally Mark Davis he's given the keys to Tom Brady.
Yeah,
and I was kind of skeptical a little bit just because, like I felt like how is he going to be able to do both, be a commentator in the NFL and also kind of like guide and get, and try to influence a lot of the Raider moves. I'm sure like, he's not going to be involved the day to day. He's going to have, Pete Carroll and Spytek is going to be able to do that. But like, how are you going to be able to actually like, put in the time and effort to be part of making these big decisions for the Raiders?
Exactly.
But he's making it work, man. I give him credit because he was in on a Stafford situation. He was I don't know where he was in Montana or wherever he was. You know, he was out there talking to Stafford. Obviously he was trying to get Ben Johnson in the building. So he's trying his best to get the best people in the building, man. So I got to give him credit. And I joked the other day, I'm like, man, if Tom Brady is responsible for the Raiders, like if he wins a Super Bowl under his watch, I'm getting a Brady jersey. I'm gonna get a Brady jersey.
I thought you was gonna say Brady tattoo. Brady jersey.
Nah,
that's
I ain't getting no tattoo. Brady tattoo. You got me messed up.
You gotta get a TB12.
You got me messed up. I'm gonna get me a
TB12. If you get you a Super Bowl, you gotta get you a TB12.
Oh, I'm getting Brady jersey for sure. TB12. Hell yeah, I'm getting. He's the greatest all the time, man. Yeah. If he brings back the Raiders back to glory, like, come on, I've never seen a Raiders Super Bowl. I mean, obviously they went to the Super Bowl.
We've seen like footage of it. Well, not none of us, but yeah. Anybody under 40 something. Well, what was it? Was it 83?
We got to find like old tapes. Like,
yeah.
You see, back in back in the
80s. Anybody was? It was 83, I believe, right? 83 when we won it. Yeah. So anybody under that's already under 42, and then like you have to be old enough to understand what you're watching. So like you got to be like at least like 47, 48 to really understand what you was watching. So it's like,
and you know what's so cold blooded too? We seen the Super Bowl against Tampa Bay and how they just destroyed the Raiders. It was just like, damn. Like I was like, man, I'm about to see. I was about to witness a Super Bowl.
Man,
that's a whole different conversation for another day. And then there's so much like, you know, there's so much conspiracy about that whole Super Bowl run, especially with Barrett Robbins disappearing.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know, Bill Callahan, according to Tim Brown, changing the game plan from run heavy to pass heavy. You know, that's a whole different conversation. But yeah, man. Hey, look. I got high hopes, man. I'm buying in, man, on Tom Brady, man. What's your thoughts on how they were breaking down how they made a decision to go after Geno?
I think it's interesting just for the simple fact that you know this isn't it wasn't like a fly by night thing or something that you know like just happened all of a sudden. Like they've been having meetings about it. They've been having you know what Tashawn said. It looks like they've had multiple meetings about it, you know, multiple sessions, multiple conversations about kind of who they want as an organization. And obviously the first person they went after was Matthew Stafford, and they weren't able to get him. But then the next person it seems that they turned their attention to was Geno Smith, right? They didn't look at Aaron Rodgers. They didn't look at Sam Darnold. They didn't think they had a solution internally, and they don't want to, you know, leave the situation to the whims of the teams in front of them in the draft. So they elected to go after a known commodity, somebody that's close to Pete Carroll and Geno Smith, and you know, so I think that's very telling, very telling.
Yeah. As far as you know, obviously, I mean, it started with Stafford. Like we knew that they were going to go after a veteran. But like to go after a guy like establishes a Stafford, it almost kind of was like, oh, okay, they're gonna get aggressive and get like actually a good quarterback. Because we had thoughts like maybe are they gonna go after Darnold? No, they're not gonna do that. Darnold is like, come on, that's too risky. Don't give a guy like Darnold a $100 million deal after 1 year. Like the Raiders are in no position, especially with so many holes on the roster. Like that just would be like a crazy deal. I mean, they were close to doing it. I'm sure they talked about it, but it went from Stafford and then obviously it ended with Geno, which I'm good with. I'm good with Geno because I feel like there's a high floor with Geno. Like he's gonna be solid. Like at the minimum, I feel like he's gonna be solid. I know some people are like, oh well, you know he's not gonna do this, he's not gonna do that. Like we don't need him to do that. We just need him to be solid. We just need to. And then we need to add a young QB to develop. Yeah. And the way that quarterback position works, man, we got to keep attacking it every year. We got to like reevaluate like every year. Like, oh, okay, how's this guy developing? Oh, he ain't it. Okay,
Hey, bring somebody else in here.
Exactly.
Yep.
Kevin Lurker says, how old is Milbro? Add 2 years. He is 23 though.
He is 23. He's like, 'cause he's older. Because he spent all that. Because even though he didn't play much at Bama, he spent his entire college career there. Like he's not one of those guys that's leaving college early. He's a senior or redshirt senior, I want to say so.
Yeah. Y'all man, people, man, I'm trying to catch up in the chat. Yeah, man, that's what I'm saying. Man, shout out to Raider Alex, man. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to my guy doing his thing, man. On Instagram, all over, man. He's hilarious on our IG and obviously YouTube. But he says definitely should have brought back Hobbs. Man, on that deal, that was doable. Now, hey, that's gonna. You know what? I'm not gonna lie. I'm dropping their grade. I said A minus.
A B plus now.
I'm dropping it to a B.
Wow, okay.
I'm dropping it to a B. Just because because the way I looked at it was like, all right, all these deals were like, you know what? I'm gonna be looking at all these deals now, just because I looked at all of these deals as overpays.
Yeah.
Even Hobbs on face value, I was like 4 years, 48. I'm like, nah, that's too much. No, I'm not doing that. But I should have known. The Packers always do like tricky deals like that, little sneaky deals. Yeah. Even going back to last year with Josh Jacobs.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, let's get back to. Go ahead.
That's how a lot of these contracts. That's how a lot of these contracts are, right? They'll give you like the agent will pull out like the numbers. But then you got to dive inside the details to see how the contract is structured, how much money is guaranteed, how much money is fully guaroguaranteed. Yeah. You know, like when there's an out in the contract, and you got to look at all that stuff to really determine what kind of contract it is, right? Like for example, the Max Crosby contract, like that contract is it's the Reggie McKenzie type of contract, right? It's front loaded, so like most of his money is getting paid, and then I think I want to say the first 2 years or something like that. So the Raiders have an opportunity where stuff don't work out. Hey, they can, hey, appreciate you, brother. You know, appreciate your time here.
Right.
Something to do. You know, best of luck to you. You know, so and it's looking like that's what Spy Tech wants to do. He looks like he's a guy that likes to keep his books clean, even with the Minshew and the James releases. Right? I don't think he's designating either one of those as post June 1st. So the cap hits are going to be all in this year, and then they're free and clear off the books. They're not going to do a Corey Littleton situation where we're paying Corey Littleton like the 5th highest paid player 3 years after we cut him. Like, you know, they're not. He's not the type of guy that's going to do that. So
he's just going to get it out the way now. He's going to get it out the way now. And I was going to say too, I lost my train of thought. We gotta. Smoke. I had to bring it back, man. But yeah, man, we got another super chat. My guy Smoke once again. He says Rodgers definitely got
Xerxes.
Oh,
Xerxes for 300.
Oh man, hey, Smoke be clowning. I give it this one. Smoke be clowning, man. Clowning. Man, Smoke be clowning, man. He funny dude. But yeah, going back to flag on the play. Or not flag on the play. Notable quotables. Notable quotables. Let's get back to it. We're not done yet. So what's the next quote? And it's going to be from the same beat writer.
Same beat writer, yeah. So so Mike Duggar, he's a beat writer. He's the athletic beat writer for the Seattle Seahawks. I'm about to call him the Seattle Supersonics, but for the Seattle Seahawks. And you know, he's a guy that's been following that team. He's a guy that grew up in Seattle. He's been following that team for a long time, and he has some interesting things to say about not only Pete Carroll and Geno Smith, but about Pete Carroll's confidence in Geno Smith, but Geno Smith's confidence in himself. So it's gonna be two separate quotes. We'll start with Pete Carroll talking about how confident Pete Carroll is in Geno Smith.
Pete knows Geno and probably believes in Geno more than anyone outside of Geno's immediate family. Like the way Pete talks about Geno is the way I talk about my daughter. Like Geno really Pete really loved this dude. At some point last year, he was like, "Yo, Geno's one of my favorite stories. He's one of my favorite players I've ever coached." Pete's been coaching since the 70s. Like for Geno to rank that high, that means a
Damn. Let's move along. Let's go to the second clip and then we'll react to the both.
Yeah. So this next one is
the Raiders take
about
guy at
Geno's.
6.
Go ahead.
Yeah, this next one is about Geno's confidence in himself and in how Geno will react if he was forced to enter into a quarterback competition.
The Raiders take a guy at 6. On the Geno front, I think it's important for Raider fans to know about Geno that he's going to handle that a lot better than like Kirk Cousins did. Because Geno's like, God bless his soul, he might be the most confident quarterback in the league. Like, no lie. Like, he signed with the Giants because he was like, I can go beat out Eli if they give me a shot. And if you remember, think of how crazy that sounded with how Geno left the Jets and what Eli means to the Giants in 2017. And Geno signing there to be like, I can go beat that guy. And then he did it. And then the coach got fired that ended up playing him. But then he did it. Same logic when he went to the Chargers. He was like, Phillip Rivers is there? Shoot, they give me a shot. I'll go beat him. Now obviously he didn't, but that was his thought. Same thing in 2019 when he signed with the Seahawks. Mm-hmm. I know Russ is there. He liked that for real, but so am I. So if they open it up, I can go beat that guy. And Geno's going to have that same mindset if let's say they draft Shador, right, at 6. He's going to be like, cool, I got comp, roll the ball out, let's rock. Watch what I do. So if the Raiders take a guy at 6.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I love like so much of the NFL success with teams is the relationship between the head coach or just have that head coach and quarterback combination. And Pete Carroll, obviously he believes in he believes in Geno. And Geno is he's all in. He's all in with Pete Carroll. So he's gonna be a guy at the most important position on the football field. They're gonna be locked in. So and it's not even just that. It's not even just that. That's one part of it where you're like, man, you're excited about the potential of what Geno Smith and Pete Carroll can look like, but also the confidence. When he mentioned the confidence that he has, no matter if the Raiders pick a quarterback at number 6 or in the draft, like that's the type of quarterback you got to have. You know what I mean? You can't have those sensitive quarterbacks. You got to have those quarterbacks like, hey, no matter what, I'm a guy. And I think, man, that gets me juiced for the season. That's gonna get me juiced for the season and hyped up for sure, man. What were your thoughts on the sound bites?
Yeah, man. First of all, just in terms of the Pete Carroll thing, just hearing. First of all, Pete Carroll been coaching since the 70s. Damn, dog, you old. Damn, dog, you been coaching since the 70s.
I've been telling y'all.
Damn, that's crazy. But with that being said, right, he's been coaching since the 70s. You can only imagine, especially in football rosters are huge. College, and he started in college. College rosters are even bigger, right? Like crazy numbers of players on those teams. So you can only imagine the amounts of different football players he's coached and he's encountered and he's been in contact with, right? And for Geno to be one of his favorite players that he's ever coached, that says something, especially with a guy. When we talk about a guy like Pete Carroll, who's universally respected for the type of person he is, for the type of leader he is. So for him to connect with Geno Smith on that level, that lets you know the type of person, the type of leader, and the type of player, and the type of worker, and the type of competitor that Geno Smith is. So I think that just speaks volumes about Geno Smith, and that when Pete Carroll, when he had the opportunity, right? Obviously, they went after Matthew Stafford first. But when they had an opportunity to go after a guy, he elected to go after Geno Smith. So I think that just speaks volumes. And then Geno Smith's confidence in himself, man. Like you have to be that confident, right? To be told, and then there's another story in there where he talked about, I think in like 2014. Geno Smith said, like when he's with the Jets, like Geno Smith said he can be a Pro Bowl quarterback, and then like Rex Ryan kind of like shot it down. I was like, oh, he had to like apologize for it. But like Geno he has unshakable faith in himself and his ability as a player. And that's one of the things that, it might have been to his detriment, because when he was going through those contract negotiations with the Seattle Seahawks, he feels he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He feels that his play backs that up. He feels that his numbers back that up. He feels that the situation that they put him in, that he was able to overcome, backs that up as well. So he feels that he's that dude. So he wants to be paid accordingly. So and for you to be going from team to team, labeled as a bust, people thought, I'm sure people forgot all about Geno Smith. A lot of people, I'm sure, thought he was out of the league or something. For him to make that comeback and play as well as he has over the last 3 years, I mean, you have to have the ultimate confidence in yourself, in your abilities, and in your preparation to do that.
We don't know what the contract details are, but I'm going to throw this at you. What happens if he's getting paid $60 million a year?
Everybody getting fired, bro. You paying this dude 60? Everybody getting fired. Everybody getting fired, bro. Everybody. Mark Davis, man, to tell the team, Tom Brady, you need to go back to you need to be full time at Fox. John Spytek, take your ass back to Tampa Bay. Like, nah, bro, you $60 million. That's wild. Wow.
But do you think
45 is high in my opinion? It's like between 40 and 45 is where I'm assuming is going to land. 45 is a little bit on the high end. I feel a lot better about 40, but at that point you're not nickel and diamond, but it's neither here nor there.
Well, I guess that might be a good segue into what's real, what's not. This is where we say a statement. Y'all react to it and let us know if it's real or not. And if you want to take it away, Severe.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So what's real, what's not, for everybody that doesn't know this segment, we say a statement. You guys let us know in the chat or in the comment section if you're watching this video later whether you think that statement is real or whether you think it's not. So we talked about Pete Carroll. We talked about Geno Smith. There were some other free agent targets out there for the Raiders, possibly some other trade target for the Raiders to go after, but they elected to go after Geno Smith. So the statement is Geno Smith for a third-round pick and about $40 million in his contract is better value than Sam Darnold for no picks and basically $33 million that he signed for.
Man, shout out to Smoke, man, real quick, man, with the super chat, my guy, man. He says he says, sheesh, Pete been coaching since the Heidi game, man. He's old, man.
Old, bro.
He's wild. Old, man. He's old, that's man. Wild. But
Smokey clowning, man. Smoke got jokes today, man.
Yeah, he's clowning, man. He's in his bag. But yeah, go back to the what's real, what's not statement, because we were just talking about Geno Smith and his contract. And I think this is a good statement here. It says Geno Smith for a third-round pick and about $40 million is better value than Sam Darnold for no picks and $33 million. Is that real or is it not? Let us know in the chat. I'll just go ahead and say it. I think it's better value with Geno just because of the production. He's been able to give you a larger sample size. So I feel like it's a kind of a better risk that it's going to work out. Yeah. Darnold is still an unknown. It's only been 1 year. You know, is there a higher ceiling with Darnold? Probably, because he's 27-year-old quarterback. And it's a cheaper deal. They didn't have to give up picks. I get that. But in my opinion, I feel like Darnold could possibly be a one-hit wonder because he played under one of the best offensive minds in football with Kevin O'Connell play callers. So I'm going with Geno, man. I'm going with Geno.
So saying real?
Yeah, I'm saying it's real.
Yeah, I'm saying it's real as well. Just basically like what you said. Geno Smith has had to overcome adversity throughout his entire basically his football career, right? Well, his professional football career. He was drafted fairly later than he thought he should have been drafted. He was drafted into a bad situation. Then he kind of bounced around the league, became essentially a journeyman quarterback. Then he was kind of thrust into the Seattle job as a starter, and he played well ever since then. Even though he didn't have the most friendly of confines in terms of their offensive line play, or more recently that their running game, and then cycling through play callers and all that stuff too. So for him to go through that and still play well, that shows you his ability to handle adversity. Conversely, you look at Sam Darnold, all the adversity he went through, right? And then he gets to Minnesota, where he has, it's not a Seattle where you have less than ideal circumstances. You have essentially the most ideal circumstances in the league, right? You have probably more help than any quarterback in the league outside of Jalen Hurts. You got the best receiver in the league, one of the best number 2s in the league, a good offensive line, a former coach of the year who happens to be one of the better play callers in the league, a solid defense. You play in the dome. Like, you have all these advantages going for you, and they played well. But as soon as some adversity hit, what happened? He laid an egg. So I'd rather go with the guy who was able to face that adversity, go through it, and play well than a guy that that wasn't, right? Geno, and then just look at the pressure numbers. Geno Smith is way better when pressured than Geno Smith is the top 5 quarterback when pressured. Sam Darnold is the bottom 5 quarterback when pressured. Like, everything adds up to say Geno Smith is a better option.
Yeah, man. I think a lot of people were kind of leaning towards real. They feel like Geno's, some say equal. But like someone said in the chat too as well, it's a good conversation, man, because we could be wrong. Darnold could play lights out next year. Yeah. And if he does play lights out, then it's like, then we could have got Darnold on a $33 million a year contract without giving up a draft pick.
Yeah.
That could have been a possibility, but I just don't feel like the Raiders are in a position to make that type of risk. Like, why just go for a proven commodity? That's why they went after a guy like Stafford. That's why they go after a guy like Geno, because they've done it for longer periods of time. Obviously, Stafford being the best quarterback that was potentially available, but obviously that didn't work out. But then they got Geno, and Geno, to me, I feel like it's probably, if he was a free agent, he would have been the best free agent quarterback available, based off what he's done as of lately for a longer period of time. I feel like the Raiders were in no position to go after a Sam Darnold. It would have been way too risky. Way too. I would rather them go real cheap at the quarterback position and draft a QB than give Darnold a big time contract, because, man, imagine paying him and then he's not playing well. Like, that's going to be a tough situation. You're going to be paying a quarterback all that money, taking all that cap space, and it's just too risky.
Yeah, and you think about it, Pete Carroll, he coached at USC. Mm-hmm. He's now teaching a class at USC, which is, you can say that's a flag on the plane itself, so he still has very strong and deep ties to the Trojans. Where did Sam Darnold play quarterback and go to school? USC. So he would have some insight into the kind of guy that Sam Darnold is. So
good point.
And so for Pete Carroll to still say, yeah, I'm rocking with Geno, even if we have to give up this 3rd round pick, even if we have to pay him more money, like, I think that speaks volumes.
Yeah.
Pete Carroll saying real on this statement.
Unfazed, or formerly known as Unfazed, The Rock, he said, salute to Rock, man. He says, did Geno get Pete fired, or was it something else that happened in Seattle? I think it was just a matter of, like, they just wanted to go with a younger option. I mean, Pete's been there for at least, was he coaching for the Seattle at least 10 years?
20 years, more than 10 years. I think 2011 was the first year. 2010, 2011, I think, was the first year he's there. So like 12, 13 years, something like that.
And they didn't even fire him. They was real respectful about it. Like, they mutually decided, and he was still part of the franchise too. Like they said that he went into more of a advisor role and yada yada yada. So that's how much respect they had for Pete. They just felt like it was time. He was getting old. I mean, he's in his 70s. That's why we questioned it to begin with. It's because man, why don't we just get our coach in the building?
Exactly.
But the Raiders opted for getting a guy that's experienced and to delay that that hire because it's gonna come. I mean, it's gonna eventually happen. And hopefully by that time the Raiders are gonna be more established, meaning having a quarterback and more options.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we mentioned this before, but we also brought it up to Mo the other day, and he was like, literally, if you think about it, did we even interview any offensive coaches? And I think the one that we kind of requested outside of Ben Johnson, I mean, we interviewed Ben Johnson, but outside of him, and he that never happened. So which he probably he left them on. He left them on red.
He left them on red.
Yep. So. Exactly. Raider Zach says Geno floor is higher than Darnold. Darnold ceiling is higher, but will he hit it? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. 100%. But yeah, man, let's move it along, man, to the second. We got do we have another what's real, what's not?
Yes, we have one more. This is kind of focused on the draft. Free agency isn't completely over, so stances and rosters. I mean, rosters may change, which may change people's stances. But as of right now, if both players are available at 6, Tetairoa McMillan would be a better choice for the Raiders than Ashton Jeanty. One more time. If both players are available at 6, Tetairoa McMillan would be a better choice for the Raiders than Ashton Jeanty. Is that real or not?
I'm gonna say for sure. I can see why a lot of because there's a lot of noise when it comes to Jeanty and the Raiders, just because Pete, I want to run the football and yada yada yada. But I feel like, in my opinion, like we said earlier, we kind of said it earlier too. It was like, man, I could see T-Mac.
Yeah.
Who's going to be the starting outside receiver outside of Jacoby Myers?
Don't know.
We haven't addressed that position, and most likely there's nobody in free agency that's going to be an answer. They might possibly get a outside receiver that, or delay it for 1 year. I don't know what, but I just feel like the Raiders are picking number 6, and most likely T-Mac's going to be on the board. And I think that's and you got to get a guy. If you're gonna get Geno in the building, you want to put pieces around him for him to be successful. And if you hear a guy like Pete Carroll talk about the quarterback position, he talks about it like the quarterback. There's only 2 or 3 quarterbacks that can actually carry the football team. They can literally put a team on their back and super elite quarterbacks. There's probably 2 or 3 quarterbacks like that. Everybody else, you got to put pieces around them for them to be successful.
Yeah.
And I think getting a number 1 receiver potentially in T-Mac, I think that's the best move, and I think that's real.
Yeah, man, I agree, and the main reason is because I honestly, as prospects, I think they're very close. Maybe Ashton Jeanty has a slight edge over Tetairoa, but Tetairoa he's the number 1 wide receiver in this class. He's an elite prospect, and this is a weak wide receiver class. It's a weak wide receiver free agency class as well, right? So there's not a lot of guys that are out there that are trustworthy that you think you could depend on, and of the guys that maybe you could depend on, they're also, they're kind of volatile guys, and they're a little bit older as well. So you get a guy like Tetairoa McMillan, who's a big body target, a 50-50 guy, also a run after the catch guy. I think, you add that weapon to your offense. You have him and Brock Bowers. I think that's a great start. And this is a very deep running back class. So I think we were going to have it on the show before. I don't know if I don't remember if we did or not, but Steve Smith Sr. was talking about maybe we didn't because everything else that happened with Stephen Senior. that's the other there. But the Stephen Senior was talking about this wide receiver class, and he was saying there are wide receivers in last year's class that were undrafted that will be third or fourth round picks in this year's class. So that's how bad the wide receiver crop is this year. So if you're able to get a guy, this is almost like I don't want to say it's apples to apples comparison, but this is almost like Tyree Wilson when we passed on Jalen Carter to get Tyree Wilson because like that was a deep edge class and it was a very weak defensive tackle class. So we could have in that draft class, right? We could have drafted Jalen Carter in the first round and got Byron Young, the good Byron Young from Tennessee, who now plays for the Rams, in the third round, because that's how deep of an edge class it was, and that's how shallow of a defensive tackle class it was. Instead, we opted to take the position that was that was very deep first, and the position that was very weak last, and that bit us in the butt. So don't make that same mistake twice. Take the elite prospect at wide receiver first, and choose from a plethora of very talented running backs 2nd through 5. You feel me? So I think it got to be Tetaroa.
Look, I think if you had to pick between wide receiver and running back, I'm taking wide receiver. But probably a better question or a better conversation would probably be like wide receiver and the trenches. If a guy like Mason Graham's available, someone. We just witnessed a Super Bowl where the game is won in the trenches, and we could you see how the Philadelphia Eagles have built their football team. And if you want a guy like Geno to be successful and to reach his ceiling and his best football, you're gonna have to protect him. So I'm also leaning towards that. Like, what can we do to improve that, or even getting to the quarterback? Because we're in a division where look, you got Sean Payton coaching up Bo Nix. You got Justin Herbert. However way you guys want to think about him, Justin Herbert he's a talented QB. We got to play against him twice a year. Patrick Mahomes, best quarterback in the NFL. If you want to look at even a bigger outlook, AFC. You got the look at the AFC North. You know what I mean? You got the Lamar Jacksons. You got the my guy in Cincinnati. Can't believe I'm forgetting his name.
Joe Burrow?
Joe Burrow, man. You got Josh Allen. You know what I mean? All these are all quarterbacks in the AFC, and the Raiders, if they have aspirations to get to the Super Bowl, they're going to have to probably go through these teams. So, Definitely. I think the Eagles got a nice little recipe, and I feel like the Raiders think they might be able to, I don't want to say replicate that, but you got Max Crosby on the line, you got Christian Wilkins, you just re-signed Adam Butler. Kuntz could be the next guy up, you know what I mean? A guy that could get after the quarterback, have a huge year next year. If they could double down, you know what I mean? I think that might be a really good move, but I understand the wide receiver, getting that wide receiver spot, that's important too, but man, we spent the last, you know what it is too? I think we spent the last couple years, 2-3 years, kind of investing in skill position players, from the Devontae Adams, the Darren Wallers, and what happened was, obviously it didn't work out with Josh McDaniels, but we weren't really great up front too. Yeah. You know what I mean? To be honest with you, we didn't have a great old line. And it kind of bit us. I mean, we had the Jacoby Myers, we had the Devontae Adams, Darren Waller, I guess, doesn't count because he barely played. But I just felt like let's try to go back to, let's say, a 2016 where we built a great offensive line, and then we had a Khalil Mack on the other side. Our version this time around is Max Crosby. I just feel like find a way to get to that. And I feel like everything else will come together. But, if it's T-Mac, I wouldn't be mad. But I feel like that's a good conversation to have. Someone, wide receiver versus getting someone in the trenches, another premium position. I mean, what's your take on that?
it all kind of depends, because I think the Raiders are in a different position than the Eagles are, because the Raiders have also already made massive financial investments into the defensive line, right? They're paying Max Crosby crazy amount of money. They're paying Christian Wilkins a stupid amount of money, right? They just paid Adam Butler. They ain't paying them crazy money, but they're paying Adam Butler. They just gave Malcolm Kuntz a contract. So it's like, all right, like, do you now, if you handed out all this money to everybody in the defensive line, so do you now take your next most valuable resource and put that on the defensive line as well? Or do you invest that on a as an outside receiver that you really haven't invested a pick in, technically 3 years, and that 3 years was when you traded your first and your second for Devontae. So and then even with the Eagles, right? We talk about the Eagles already had traded. I think they traded a first round pick to the Titans for AJ Brown. Then they spent another first round pick on drafting Devontae Smith. And that's after they spent first round picks on JJ Arcega-Whiteside and I believe Jalen Reagor as well. So like they've been investing. We think Howie Roseman is the best GM in the league, but he's been investing premium draft pick. I want to say they took JJ Arcega-Whiteside in the first round over DK Metcalf. And I think AJ Brown might have been in that same draft class as well, if I recall correctly. But yeah, so they've been investing premium draft picks in outside receivers. So like maybe if you want to go O-line, that's a different conversation. But you have your left tackle. You assume Colton Miller is going to be playing at a fairly high level at least the next 4 or 5 years. You definitely have your center of the future. You have a guy you think has a lot of potential in DJ Glaze manning the right side. Now, what you really have to figure out is, what do we do at the guard position? And the first round may be a little bit too rich for guard, especially early in the first round. Now, if you talk a trade back, then you have a different conversation. But like early in the first round, I don't think you want to take a guard there. Especially, and you were kind of fortunate here, but especially you were able to get one of the better interior offensive linemen in the second round just a year prior.
Yeah, I'm thinking more so. Probably early on, probably defensive line. I'm thinking, I think corner is another position you can argue that the Raiders should probably consider at early on too. But also you can make an argument like, you know what, you might not take Genty early on, but what's the Raiders' identity going to be next year? What has Pete Carroll's identity been on offense since he's been a head coach? Like, he wants to run the football. I understand, like, in today's NFL, like, you got to be able to pass the football, but maybe they might be able to find a creative way to, like, push it off until next year. Yeah. You know what I mean? Maybe getting like a speedy outside receiver. Might not be like a guy that you would consider to be like a number one receiver, but he's a good role player. He does his job. Because who's the best player on the offense?
Brock Bowers.
Brock Bowers.
Yeah.
So maybe you create an offense around him, and run the football. You know what I mean? And run the football. And a lot of, I think we can all agree. I feel like a lot of people, I've seen a few people here in the chat. We've been talking about this for a minute. Let's double dip at running back. Let's take it too.
Yeah, we've been saying that. Yeah, we've been saying that for months.
Exactly. And there's going to be plenty of options. There's, you got the Thunder. We can get our version of Thunder and Lightning in this draft. That's how good. That's how deep the draft is at running back.
No, facts.
But I feel like they can find a creative way to address the wide receiver. They don't have to really go early with T-Mac. They can. If he's the best player available, I'm not saying pass on him. But if there's other players that are better than him at that spot, at other positions of need, at other premium positions of need,
yeah,
I'm like, man, let's we can get, you get what I'm trying to say. Look, for example, like Ruggs, for example.
Yeah.
Ruggs was drafted to be the number one receiver for the Raiders.
Yeah.
His first year, he wasn't that. But what he was a great deep threat. And he was able to at least put fear into the defense. If we get like a speedy complement to like a Jacoby Myers, I could see us, pushing it off until the next year where we can get our legit number one receiver. You know what I mean? while we address other positions of need.
But the thing about this class is that, you know, it's a fairly deep offensive line class. It's an extremely deep running back class, and it's a pretty deep defensive tackle class as well, right? You got Grant from, like, Mason Graham's teammate, Grant from Michigan. He's probably a late first round guy. You got Tyleek Williams. He might be a late first, early second round guy. He's from Ohio State. Both those guys are like monsters, like, right? They play, not only do they kind of fit better with what we need, because they're like guys that are like 320, 330. So they can play those lane cloggers, but they also offer some pass rush capabilities at that size as well. So they're like a little bit of a better fit for what we need. Like there's very few. There was no receiver in this class that's just better than Teteroa, right? Like coming into this offseason, Will Johnson was my number one player, right? Like regardless of position, Will Johnson, you are the number one guy. But you know, like I don't know if they go after corner. You know, we talked about Mike Duggar. What Mike Duggar was saying, you know, one of the things he mentioned about Pete Carroll is that he has a knack for getting the best out of the corners that play for him, right? They talk about Byron Maxwell. Byron Maxwell was a guy that played well for him. Byron Maxwell gets a big contract elsewhere. He flops, right? They just talking about somebody else that didn't. Or was it? I forgot the guy's name, but somebody else that didn't work somewhere else, and he comes to the Seahawks, and the guy plays well. And then he leaves, and he doesn't play well. So so maybe Pete looks at Jack Jones and looks at Ja'Cory Bennett and say, you know what, I can work with this. You know, like Will Johnson is my guy, right? Like if I'm picking at 6, if I'm sticking and picking, I'm taking Teteroa or I'm taking Will Johnson. Those are my two guys if I have to take one. But you know, like we have in my opinion, because the only other outside receiver we have right now is Trey Tucker, right? Or like, right, you know, like if Trey Tucker is your starting receiver opposite of Jacoby Myers, you're in some trouble. So I would rather put my faith in a guy like Teteroa and line him up across from Jacoby Myers than I would. I have more faith in, put it like this, I have more faith in Ja'Cory Bennett and Jack Jones working out at corner than I do with Trey Tucker and Jacoby Myers working out at wide receiver, even if we do have Brock Bowers.
That's a good point. I can see that because you got to think about it from this perspective of, like, if you give them a pass rush, I feel like they can hold up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think, you know, I'm not saying they're going to be the best secondary in the NFL, but I feel like if you give Jack Jones and Ja'Cory Bennett a pass rush, it makes Jack Jones that much better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's going to have that ability to be a ball hawk like he wants to be, just because, you know, exactly. So I agree with that. Man, Raiders Zach says, don't be shocked if we take Walker at 6. I'm just saying, out of Georgia. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, if they feel like their best player available is someone in the trenches, man, I wouldn't mind that at all. But hey, if it's T-Mac, I'm not mad at that. I'm just saying, like, man, like, we're going after a skill position. I'm just like, man, like, you know, and, you know, someone's mentioning, you know, the Eagles having, like, you know, their receiving core is so talented with A.J. Brown and obviously Devontae Smith. But, you know, you're kind of comparing a Super Bowl winning team. Howie Roseman, one of the best GMs in football. Like, that roster is probably the best roster in football. I mean, they got everything. They have everything. And everything. And their ability to get, like, how they were able to get they moved what's the name to Mekhi Becton to guard, and he had like a career year at guard, you know, from tackle.
So that's Jeff Stoutland, right? Jeff Stoutland is probably the best offensive line coach in the league. Maybe one of the best, well, undoubtedly one of the best offensive line coaches and run game coordinators of all time, like without a doubt. Do you know who hired Jeff Stoutland?
Who?
Chip Kelly. Do you know who hired the offensive coordinator here for the offensive line coach here for the Raiders? It wasn't Chip Kelly. You know that by the last name.
Oh.
It's Pete Carroll's son.
Oh, who did they hire at offensive line?
Yeah, I was saying who hired him. Who hired that guy? It wasn't Chip Kelly that hired him. You know. Like, it was Pete Carroll, obviously. So I don't know why you wouldn't trust a guy that has a track record of hiring great offensive line coaches in the NFL with hiring an offensive line coach in the NFL. Like, it just makes the most sense to me. But, what do I know? Am I going to trust a guy that hired Tom Cable, or am I going to trust a guy that hired Jeff Stoutland? I think I'm going to trust a guy to hire Jeff Stoutland.
Yeah. But I'll give him credit. I don't know if I would give him that much credit, but because I heard that it wasn't just Pete Carroll picking out his staff. I think Spytech and that front office helped him, also picked out people, so it was a collaborative approach when it came to picking people on his staff. Because the year prior with AP picked everybody on his coaching staff. I think one of the biggest issues why Chip Kelly couldn't come on as an OC, as y'all remember, Chip Kelly was interviewed for the Raiders OC job a year ago.
Yeah.
And he ended up didn't getting the job. One of the reasons why that he didn't get the job was because he wanted to bring too much of his staff. So I guess, looking back at it, I'm like, man, like that was a crazy miscalculation right there by AP right there, man.
Crazy.
You end up settling for Lou Getsy, but that's a whole different conversation.
Exactly.
But yeah, man, we appreciate everybody coming through. Make sure to clock in at this point, clock out, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Man, it's been a great show. Man, salute Gravy, man. Hey, man, appreciate you coming through, my guy, man. Make sure to subscribe, man. Raider Nation live in the building. Appreciate you coming through. But yeah, man, been a great show. It's gonna be a whole lot of offseason to talk about. It's just the beginning of free agency. I don't think the Raiders are done, but at this point, I think it's just gonna be a lot of value sign-ins. There might be some players that we might like that they might pick up that's left. They do need to fill out the roster and get some depth. And we lost like 3 defensive starters. Like I'm sure, are they going to grab another linebacker? You know what I mean? A nickel corner, offensive line. I like those are probably the 3 spots that kind of, wide receiver. Throwing wide receiver. I know we talked about that being addressed in the draft, but they might be able to add some talent before the draft.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, we'll see, man. So make sure to clock in. At this point, clock out. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell. My guy, Severe, man. Let the people know where they can find you, what to look forward to, all that good stuff.
You guys know what it is. The Severe Raider here on YouTube, on IG, on Snapchat, TikTok, X, basically everywhere. Social media is at the Severe Raider. You catch me Sunday nights with my guys, 805 and Chris from Protect the Shield, on the Raider War Room, as well as Tuesday afternoons. And then you guys already tuned in, locked in right now with the world famous 50-50 show. And then we got Around the Shield. We've been mixing it up a little bit. Most of the time it drops on Fridays. It's pre-record. We've been going live a little bit on these past Thursdays just to, so we the news don't be stale by the time we drop it on Friday night. But we might possibly have a Friday night live this week. So if you guys haven't done so already, I suggest that you subscribe and then hit those notification bells so you are alerted whenever we go live.
Yeah, man. All right. Hey, look, clock in. At this point, clock out. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell. We're back here we're here every Tuesdays, the 50-50 show. Obviously, later this week, we got Around the Shield, like Severe said. This is the off season. It's off season edition. So I know it usually drops every Friday, but due to everything kind of the news incoming every left and right, we kind of made it where make sure to hit that notification bell so then you'll be notified when we go live and drop the episode of Around the Shield. So I think this week we've been having a guest each and every week. Hopefully we'll be able to get some people on this week. And yeah, man, make sure to tune in and subscribe and hit that notification bell. We'll be excited, man. We're excited about the Raiders off season. What's to come next. And I think we'll continue to do. I think we'll do. How should we attack the draft? Should we do? And I know we did trade downs last week.
Yeah.
This
we can
week
expand it. We can do first and second. I don't think we've done. I don't think we've gone past this. Have we gone past the first? Yeah, we would. No, we did.
We did because when we traded down, we got an extra. We actually extra third, so we was like, you know what? Let's just take it all the way to the third round. So I guess, we'll play it by ear, man. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. I think we traded up to number 1 pick. I think at this point, like, I don't see the Raiders trading up. Like, that'd be wild. I mean, I don't. Yeah, that'd be crazy. But if they did trade, I know we're on the way out, man. But if they did trade up for Cam Ward, would that be? I think that would probably be the craziest move.
That'd be the craziest move. That would be 1,000 times crazier than Kirk Cousins, bro. 1,000, because you have to give up an entire draft class to move up that high.
I think the Falcons. I think the Falcons are starting to trend, bro. I think teams are going to be aggressive in addressing the quarterback position and signing guys. And if there's a guy in a draft, especially like in the first round, I don't think teams are going to hesitate. Like, they going, man, because look, they have the answer. They have their answer at quarterback. It's Michael Penix. I mean, and Cousins, I don't even know. Is he still with the Falcons?
He's still with the Falcons. The Falcons are saying they're going to keep him, but I think they're just playing hardball. They're trying to extract as much value in the trade as possible, but I think they might end up cutting him.
Man, that's crazy, man. That's a crazy situation, man. Any last thoughts before we head out?
Nah, man. It's just ready to see what we do. Like these next few days, this is right in John Spiketek's wheelhouse. These are kind of the cheaper, more affordable guys where you find the value at. He talked about being, naturally cheap. So I think this is where you kind of get him to pry his wallet open a little bit more to get some of these lower tier free agents. So I'm expecting some activity to pick up throughout the rest of this week.
Yeah, man. But yeah, man, we'll see y'all later this week, man, around the Shield, man. Appreciate everybody coming through, man. Peace.
Just win, baby. Hello? You play to win the game. You don't play to just play it.